demystifying the fraternal aspects of Freemasonry. Our conversation will be kept open, in keeping with our obligations, and to avoid any spoilers for those who may be interested in joining Freemasonry. Thoughts and opinions shared by the participants and guests of the extended branch are their own, and while open dialogue is the goal, we acknowledge that our comments do not represent any official statements or positions made by any grand jurisdiction. My name is Brother Kevin Cotter, and with me, as always, is Worshipful Brother Andrew Rizzatello.
Hi, everybody.
Brother Billy Bilbo.
Hey, everyone.
And our special guest tonight, Worshipful Brother Ken Long.
The Scotsman.
Say hello, Ken.
Hello.
Thank you. Got to lead them along sometimes.
Hello.
So with that, I will hand the reins over to Brother Billy Bilbo to get us started.
All right. Well, gentlemen, good evening. How are we all?
Just fine.
We're fine now.
Yeah, definitely much better.
Pleasure to be here.
Yep. Thank you, Ken. An official hello to you. Thank you
sir.
for coming very much.
My
Welcome
pleasure.
to the show.
My pleasure.
So, I guess we'll go right into it. So, the first portion, as I like to do, is our little game, Name That Mason, and I got some good ones for you. I got some good ones.
The stakes are high.
They are. Well,
I was the winner last time.
Yeah, Andrew won last time.
All right, fine.
You had one, so
You watch the episodes the way you want to, and I'll watch them the way I want to.
All right, are we ready?
Let's do this.
Kind of a theme here to these. All right, so the first one, he was. Hold on, let me find a good
George
question.
Washington.
Mickey Mantle.
Oh, okay. So
Can't even read his own notes.
in 1881, he graduated from the University of Edinburgh with a Bachelor of Medicine. Edinburgh.
Edinburgh.
Yeah, I know. You're insulting our guest.
Sorry.
Like,
What year was it again?
1881.
1881.
1881.
And is he considered a UK Mason or an American Mason?
American Mason.
He's considered an American Mason.
No, I'm sorry. He is not. I'm sorry. I apologize. He is a UK Mason, and when we find out who it is, you'll
I'm going
see.
to take a stab at it.
Go ahead.
George Bernard Shaw?
No.
I don't even know if he was a Mason. I mean, Mickey Mantle was a Mason in my mind.
Right.
Go ahead. Give us
You guys know nothing?
No.
No.
Go ahead.
In 1886, he published A Study in Scarlet, which was the first appearance of his most famous character.
What?
Okay. So, I don't know the answer, but I'm tracking it. All right. So
You're pretty good at this.
yeah.
Let's see.
All right. So you're saying you mean like the Scarlet Pimpernel?
No.
No. Okay, I got
Scarlet
nothing.
Fever?
No. A Study,
Study
in
in
Scarlet
Scarlet.
was the name of it.
Scarlet O'Hara?
It'll all click
There
after
are people
this one.
shouting at their
Yeah,
screens
absolutely.
right now.
Yes.
Correct.
Go ahead.
His most famous character's most famous apprentice, sidekick, I'm sorry, is Dr. Watson.
Sherlock Holmes.
Right.
But who wrote it?
Buzz.
Oh,
No,
Buzz Aldrin?
I know.
Yeah,
It's not Buzz Aldrin. No, I know the answer.
Not Houdini either.
no.
Sherlock Holmes. Oh, I just can't pull it out.
Who is Sir Arthur Conan Doyle?
Oh, circle gets the square.
How about that, huh?
Very good,
Yeah, I was
very
close,
good.
right.
Kev, I was close.
All right.
I was close.
So, Sir Arthur Ignatius Conan Doyle.
Ignatius.
Ignatius.
Yes.
Yeah, I knew that part.
Born May 22nd, 1859. Died July 7th, 1930. Born in Edinburgh, Scotland. Sorry, it's going to happen.
Don't sit there. Don't sit there,
No, yeah,
please.
yes,
Use
involve
the
yourself,
microphone.
Ken.
Edinburgh.
Thank you.
Scotland. Repeat after me. Edinburgh.
It's not going to happen.
Okay.
Remember, he's the Cuban here.
Yeah. Edinburgh?
Okay?
Edinburgh, Scotland? I
This
got
is
it,
the
man.
time I look at the camera.
Okay, so he was initiated in 1887 in Phoenix Lodge, number 257 in South Sea, UK. He was a Knight of St. John. He was the most venerable. The Knights of St. John are the most venerable order of the Hospital of St. John of Jerusalem. They're a British Royal Order of Chivalry constituted in 1888 by Queen Victoria, and it goes all the way back to the Middle Ages with the Knights of the Hospitalier, where they would
Very cool.
go
Interesting.
around.
Very interesting.
He created Sherlock Holmes in 1887. A Study in Scarlet was the first appearance of Sherlock Holmes ever.
Ah.
So that's why A Study in Scarlet was him examining the crime scene. It was really the first written.
Okay.
Crime drama.
Yeah.
Okay.
Scarlet meaning
And
Blood?
He,
Yeah.
Yep,
Got it.
Yep.
Got it.
So he was a doctor of medicine, and he was big into sports, which I didn't know. Cricket, very big into cricket. He played 10 first-class matches for the Marylebone Cricket Club in
It's a game that
1889.
I still
Yeah.
don't understand to this day.
And in golf, big golf guy, Scottish guy, of course he plays golf, elected to the captain of the Crowborough Beacon Golf Club in Sussex.
Don't look at me like that.
I'm just
you play golf too. Don't look at me like that.
I'm just happy there's a huge drop off between the second and third clues.
I gotta do it. I gotta do it
So-
like that.
so thank you for that.
My clues are very weird, and I understand. So
No,
I
no,
try
no,
to
no,
bring
no. You're a consummate professional.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. All right. Are we up to our next one?
Let's do this.
So, this Scottish Mason was a Knight Commander of the Royal Victorian Order.
Don't look at me like
Yeah, you're gonna give me more than that, man. I am.
All right, maybe this will help. His parents were Ulster Scots.
We're what?
Ulster Scots? Ken, do you know?
It's a like sort of a province, if you would, not really a province, county in Scotland. But
They were Irish that were expelled from Ireland, moved to Scotland, and claimed citizenship there.
but there's also an Ulster,
Ulster County, yes,
Yeah.
that is where they went. That's when they got there, the Scottish put them
as
all
opposed
in
to Ireland.
Yeah.
They
which
made
is
like a ghetto.
Ulster
yeah,
essentially.
yeah,
as well, right.
yeah, exactly. They made
Okay.
an Irish ghetto, and they became Ulster County, and they became
Okay.
Ulster Scots.
All right. Nope.
All right, so that doesn't matter. So poor guy.
Yeah.
So let's see. In 1880, he invested in stockyards in Omaha, which grew tea, and that helped him get a foothold in the Americas for what made him eventually incredibly rich.
I'm just gonna take a stab and say Lipton.
Yes, sir.
I
gonna
didn't
say
even.
that.
I didn't even
I was
know
gonna
that,
say
that.
that.
I don't
Yeah.
even know his
I
full
was gonna
name.
say that.
I just like. You said T, and I'm like, all
Yeah,
right.
that was the only thing I was going to bring you
You
guys
know,
to it. It's very weird.
I am amazed
very
right
strange.
now.
Why?
Seriously.
I don't know why. I'm glad he's a part of the organization. But okay, fine.
So, Sir Thomas Johnstone Lipton the First, Baronet, Knight, Commander,
Come on,
Royal
keep
Victoria.
can we
Right.
just add to these titles, dude?
This is the guy on the box.
Yeah, this is the guy on the yellow box with the wheat on it.
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the
yeah.
tea.
Lipton.
Yep, this is him. Yep.
Okay.
So he was born.
Brisk.
Yep, he was born a poor boy, May 10th in 1848, and died October 2nd, 1931, as one of the richest people in the world in Gorbals, Glasgow. He was raised August 1870 in Lodge, Scotia 178.
He's just butchering names. Is that just bothering you?
What happened? Gorbals? Glasgow?
Yes.
Is that what Glasgow. Okay, Glasgow? Okay.
You said it right.
Okay, it's in Glasgow. I
Ken's
apologize.
head's gonna explode. Oh my God.
Again,
That's so
different kind of white person. So he was a Knight Commander of the Royal Victorian Order, which I told you is a dynastic order of knighthood established by Queen Victoria, and it recognizes distinguished personal service to the monarch of the Commonwealth realms, members of the monarch's family, or to any victory or senior representative of the
So
monarch.
it's similar to like how like Paul McCartney or
Right.
that type.
Yeah, but it
royal
was a
order.
little bit higher because he supplied the tea to
Gotcha.
England. So they were very. He was also a first baronet, which
Baronet.
baronet, Baronet. A baronet is a British hereditary dignity first created by King James I of England in May 1611. The baronetage is not part of the peerage, nor is it an order of knighthood. A baronet ranks below barons, but above all knights, except in England, Knights of the Garter, and in Scotland, Knights of the Garter and of the Thistle.
All right. Sometimes when I research British history, I think that people just wanted titles before their names.
100%. And
Like seriously.
So, all right. So, I want to tell you, in my research, Andrew, you nailed it. That's all he ever, being a poor boy
Yeah,
who
yeah,
grew
yeah, yeah.
up in like the ghetto of
Right.
Scotland, all he wanted was to be royalty. Like he saw these guys in their carriages and
So he wanted titles.
he figured, I own all of these stores. Well, that's how he really got rich, was he opened all these little stores
Tea
that
shops.
would sell his
Yeah.
things, and like the first bodegas really like in Scotland. But that's really what it
Irish
was.
bodegas.
Yeah, Irish, Scottish, Irish, Ulster, Scotland. Yeah. So
Okay.
so yeah, so
Okay,
that's
all right.
so that's all he wanted. So like
Everybody's got to hustle.
he was he 100%, and he was
I get
really
it.
good. Like he was the consummate salesman. They said that that's like he sold himself
You know what?
into
It's
this
got to be
baronet
plants.
age.
It's always plants.
Yeah.
They're always pushing
Yeah.
plants.
People got to have tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tea, tobacco.
Good for
Excellent,
you, man.
excellent, Billy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So
learned
as
something.
far as sports, he was real big into yachting. Again, that
Yeah. Oh, that's
yeah, you
rich
know.
people sports.
But he was like, you know, really big into yachting. He was,
Okay.
you know, World Cup stuff. So if you look, some of the cups for yachting are the Lipton Cup, the Lipton World Cup.
yeah,
and,
that's
like,
right,
He
that's
was
right, that's
really
right,
big
yeah.
into
That I
yachting.
know. I didn't make the connection.
No idea.
Yeah.
So also he
Yeah.
enjoyed football, not American football,
Soccer,
football.
yes.
So before the first World Cup was held in 1930, Thomas Lipton donated the Sir Thomas Lipton Trophy.
So the
Because
first World Cup was the Sir
his,
Thomas.
and because he wanted to be noted for, I'm famous.
So then the title Sir means that he was knighted by the Queen,
Yeah, well, yeah, the
the
Victorian.
baronetage.
and I must have missed that.
That was
yeah,
the
yeah.
first
Apologize.
baronet thing. That was
Sorry, I
yeah,
missed
so yeah, he's a.
He's
So
hired
the tea you drink is
Yeah.
Sir Lipton.
Sir Lipton tea. Yep.
Okay, good.
They're gonna come out later. They're gonna come out with their own like specialty blend. It's gonna be called Sir Lipton. It's gonna have like Earl Grey mix in it or something like that.
So to show you how much he loved his family and he appreciated his roots, and to show you like how much of a good person he was and how much he truly was Masonic to the end. When he died, he bequeathed about 85% of his fortune to Glasgow.
Wow.
So that whole of the city, he was like, "Here's my money, it's all yours." And not only that, he had all this money, and he had all this property and everything. He was buried right next to his brothers and sisters and his parents.
In
Oh,
the
interesting.
poor person
in the poor,
graveyard.
Very
yeah,
interesting,
absolutely,
yeah, very
So that's where he is. He's still there.
Wow.
Awesome.
Huh. He's got the biggest gravestone though.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like-
Oh, yeah.
He has to be noticed.
All right, so in between, real quick, we'll do a very quick quote from Mason that I saw earlier today.
Is it Harry Young?
No,
Is it
it's not Harry Young.
Noble Harry Young.
So,
Shout out to the
right,
Prince
yeah,
Hall.
Harry Young. Oh, I was talking about him with my wife today. All good thing. How much of a good guy he is, and I can't wait to talk to him on
Yeah.
here. I believe that the ability to think is a blessing. If you can think about a situation, you can deal with it. The big struggle is to keep your head clear enough to think. And that was from Brother Richard Pryor.
Ah.
So
Funny that he would
of
have
all
his
people
head.
to say that, yeah, he
I mean,
clearly
he did have a
not-
fire on his head.
his face, not just his head. The whole of his face was on fire.
Yes, Brother Richard Pryor.
All right.
I remember very clearly, like being a little kid, and I mean the first time I ever met Richard Pryor was on Superman 3, and I don't care. I don't care who
he
knows
was a
it.
genius hacker.
But even I mean, first of all, we can unpack the movie on a different episode.
Tobacco. All I want to say is tobacco
But-
makes Superman evil.
But man, was he fun! I mean, anything he did was funny.
I
Yeah.
agree, 100%.
Just the tiniest little thing.
And
facial
that's the shot right
expressions.
there.
100%.
Yes, yeah, there it is.
His
Yeah.
facial expressions were
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I mean,
really funny.
it was him and George Carlin.
Yeah.
Going
right.
back and
Yeah.
forth.
When he made a joke, he'd get that like funny like
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
face. It
And
was
would you believe
really, yeah.
I watched a documentary on him. Would you believe that he started his stand-up like Steve Allen with the, suit and tie on,
Right, yeah,
very
the
clean
blue-
jokes.
blue-
No,
yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
And he was just like one day he was in LA and he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. And he just, and then he was Richard
Then he-
Pryor from
then he
then on.
turned it loose.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really did.
Yeah. That's cool, man.
Yeah, I always thought of him as a very funny person, and when I found out he was a Mason, I was like, all right. I mean, like maybe he wasn't a
That's great.
complete weirdo, and he wasn't really a weirdo.
Everyone
He's a
has their
genius.
faults, but
yeah,
he was a comic
genius.
legend.
He had faults. I mean, most comedians, you can look into any comedian, and there's a dark past there. It's how they, it's how they get their comedy.
Yeah, sadly.
All right, so with that segue, let's move on. So our next guy, this Mason,
more?
was
Normally it's 3.
Okay.
Calm down.
Yeah,
Oh,
3.
it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, rule 3.
I'm batting 0, so good.
Oh, yeah, no, you're fine. It's we really don't take points. There's no points.
Oh,
It's
no
just-
points?
No, no
All
points. That's it for me. So this Mason was born into one of the richest families of the time that he was born.
That helps. Like that was
18th century.
like that helps, Billy.
18th century.
30 years from now.
He's a Gates child.
That was a horrible clue. I'm sorry. All right, so here's a good one. So in 1768, he was sent to military academy to become none other than a musketeer.
Okay.
1768 to become a
A
Lafayette.
Why do you always do it?
Are
All
you
right, it's
serious?
fun. All right.
Is he right?
He is right. Yeah.
Oh,
Brother.
man.
Brother Marquis.
All right.
See,
De
So,
Lafayette.
so you guys were making fun of,
Of
the other
Hamilton
guy
fame.
with the titles. You want to hear Lafayette's
No,
full
the,
No,
the
no, no, no,
Swamp
no,
Fox.
skip it.
I know
Okay.
a lot about the Swamp Fox.
Marie Joseph Paul Yves Roche Gilbert de du Motier Marquis de Lafayette. That is his full name.
So
Write
you
down.
know the rumor with French language, right?
Go.
That they were paid by the letter when they were writing things. It's a rumor. I can't substantiate
That's
it
pretty
with-
funny.
and say whether it was true or not.
So
but
his-
that's why when you look at the French language, there's letters in words that are like 15 letters long, but it
Yeah.
sounds like Smith.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
You
That
know,
makes sense. Yeah.
Just really quickly, what amazes me about Brother Lafayette is that he was given the title by General George Washington, Brother General George Washington, of general during the Revolution, and he had at his command a whole entire battalion in the Battle of Monmouth.
Right.
Yes.
Right?
Well,
yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Billy's
Go
got
ahead.
some stuff.
So, first of all, I don't want to correct you and blow up your spot, but that was not true. He was not allowed to have a command of any soldiers until the siege of Yorktown, which is the end of the Revolutionary War. He was considered a friend and a father and a person he could confide into by George Washington, but the Congress at the time, the United States Congress at the time, the colonies, he was French-born. He cannot
Then
lead.
why was the map of the Battle of Monmouth very clear in saying Washington was center?
Yep.
Lafayette was in Englishtown.
Yep, because he was not in command. It was another soldier. So
It's like Rockstar.
So
Yeah,
hold
right.
on.
No, so you're bursting my bubble here.
I'm sorry. I'm
But
sorry.
no,
I'm
but what
sorry.
I'm saying,
I'm sorry.
it's like
I mean, I saw the map.
Yeah,
Lafayette
was
was only
there.
one guy named Lafayette.
Yep, but he wasn't in command.
What was he doing then?
He was a soldier. He was running, and he was like a
Well,
lieutenant.
then why wouldn't they have General whoever and Lafayette?
Because he's famous. He's
Okay.
more famous than
That's
the
right.
guy who misinterpreted George
It's like the French
Washington's
military
orders.
version of
Yeah.
the Kardashians.
All right,
Yeah.
got it.
Right. So
Like, you just know where they are at all times.
right. No,
I'm with
and,
you. I got it.
And that's 100% true because the other general on the other
I
side.
always thought that he
Right.
was given that title.
Right, but that was because he was the hero of two worlds. He was probably one of, if not the most, maybe even more so because of his celebrity in France and the UK because of what he did over here. More famous than George Washington himself during the Revolutionary War. So much so. All right, so there are some really cool I started digging into this guy. I hope there's a movie. I'm gonna go and get a book on him. Like I really understand why you can. Some of the stuff in here about
Kevin,
him.
you're right. He's really doing a good job here, and I was a history major, and I was wrong.
You,
Don't worry, nobody watches this podcast.
Nobody of merit, at least.
oh, hey, I
Let me try to
watched
say
it.
that again. I was. I can't.
We have it on film, so don't worry.
It's
Don't
fine.
worry.
I will never say anything about it. So there are really cool things about him. So number one, they met in one of my all-time favorite cities. George Washington and Marquis de Lafayette met at a dinner in Philadelphia in 1777. There's a famous painting of the two of them meeting for the first time. So what is really interesting about this is that when Lafayette first came to America in a military capacity, like wanting to join the Continental Army and everything. He didn't have a way to get close, but he was a Mason. So he told the guy he was staying with that I'm a Mason and, can you just spread the word around? And Washington found out about it, was having this sit-down dinner and just wanted some Masons around so that he would have some brotherhood and company while he was talking.
Right.
Because Washington was never a politician, and
No.
he made that
abundantly clear.
very, very clear.
Absolutely.
So he needed friends that were Masons, brothers that he could trust, that were politicians that he could help negotiate when he went to the table.
Right.
Well, he heard about Lafayette and
yeah.
that he was a Mason, and he said, "Sit down." And instant friends. Like there was like a bro hug bond, and they
Brother from another mother kind of thing.
Pen pals, whatever you need, bro. I got you.
But that's true because tell me if I'm wrong because
Go ahead.
I'm on shaky
No,
ground
no,
here
you're
now
fine,
with
you're fine,
this,
go ahead.
But is that George Washington considered Lafayette like a son?
Yeah, well,
Right.
I was going to say, so the relationship was that of friend and father-son. So
Yeah.
Washington wanted to guide him, but he realized that Lafayette probably knew more than he'll ever know in his whole life. So he was just inspired by this boy that was a man before his time. I mean, when they met, when was he born? So he was in his 20s when the two of them met.
So
in
I had to say that
Washington.
first, Billy, to redeem myself.
Yeah, very good. Okay. So they became best friends, blah, 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 the whole thing. And then the whole thing with him going, and then he said, "You can go, I trust you more than I trust this other guy." And then the whole Battle of Monmouth thing, Washington gave orders. The orders misconstrued. Lafayette said, ran back to Washington and said, "Dude, get up to the front. This guy is messing it up." And
That must be
yeah,
General Lee.
no, well, Benton, I believe it was. I was trying not to throw the guy's name out there, but
All right, I'm out.
2 for 2.
So when he went back, so after the Revolutionary War, he went back to France. He got very involved with French politics. Louis the 16th was in power at the time, and he had promised that he was going to make some reforms and that, maybe we're not going to gain independence from the British right now, but we'll definitely start talking about it, and it never happened. And Lafayette just kind of fell out of love with the guy, and he started to speak against him. So when he started to speak against him, he got arrested. His wife was also arrested. So this is my favorite part of the story. So while she was in prison, I got to get the names right. Hold on, I'm sorry.
There's too many letters.
Yeah,
in the
there's
names.
so much. I wrote down so much stuff. So hold on. Okay, so in 1795, that's when Lafayette was in prison and his wife was in prison. Mrs. Monroe, Mrs. James Monroe,
Right.
went to visit her.
Okay.
And she was there and spoke, and as she was leaving, very loudly, she turned back to Marie Lafayette and said, "I'll see you tomorrow." And because she came back, they never executed her. So she was let free because they didn't want to mess up their relations with the budding United States. Because James
So
Monroe was a
it
diplomat at the time in line to become president.
Right.
So here's another fun fact. Our brother Lafayette was pardoned by another infamous brother, Napoleon Bonaparte. Got him out.
Is he a brother?
Yeah.
Is he really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
No, that one's a surprise to me too.
Yeah. Yep.
Did you know that? You
Yeah.
just say yes.
Yes.
The answer to that
So-
question
Yes,
is
I
always
did.
yes.
So Napoleon brought him out, and he said, "Dude, you're famous. Clearly, you're one of the best generals that France
Right.
has. Will you join me?" And at first, he said, "Yeah," but then Napoleon became Napoleon,
Right.
And he was like, "I gotta go."
I'm sorry, can't do this
So
anymore.
near the end of his life, James Monroe was president, and he invited him back to
To
the
America.
United States
Okay.
for a grand tour of all 25 states at the time, and everywhere he went.
They knew
Standing
who he was.
ovation.
Well, I mean,
met by
obvious
soldiers,
hero
yeah.
of the war that helped create this.
Yeah, like I gotta tell you, like absolutely fell in love with this guy. Like I have.
Oh, he's a
total-
great character.
Oh
He's-
yeah,
he's-
absolutely.
yeah.
No nonsense, man. Like I want this. We're gonna do it.
Yep.
A lot of people know what is the name? Mel Gibson one when The Patriot.
Uh-huh.
So Lafayette is featured in that when he comes and he's teaching the soldiers how to fight and
Movements
everything
and
like
stuff,
that.
yeah.
But in that movie and also in real life, in the middle of the war, he left. Like he went back to France. And he was gone for a while. So the original assumption, like from the movie and everything, is that he just went back to get more ships and
Right.
reinforcements and stuff. Well, he kind of did that. He also found out that the Spanish had joined with the French, and they were all tired of the British ruling them. And he kind of wanted, like, he's like, well, since I'm here, let's like do a coup. Let's go against the British right
just
now.
gonna overthrow every government I have ever seen.
But the Spanish were, but the Spanish were like, "Yeah, we're not into it."
Yeah.
So it kind of
Bloody
fizzled
English.
out. And
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, let me go back to America now. Let me do it."
They're winning over there.
So here's and then the last thing I'll tell you about Lafayette before
The next segment.
my favorite part. So when he wanted to come back the second time, when he was bringing the reinforcements and everything, King Louis didn't want him to leave. So he was like, "We don't want any soldiers, specifically Lafayette, to get on any boats and go back to America." So he was like, Lafayette was like, "Crap, like what am I gonna do? Like the only way I can get over there, I don't have any boats." And he's like, "You know what? I'm really rich. I'm gonna buy a boat." So he did $120,000 in 1760 something.
Wow.
So had it built, started to go, was reading the correspondence by his family, and they were like, "You can't do it. You can't leave." And he was like, "Ugh." So he turned around and he came back.
Yeah.
So when he came back, he met with another like captain at the dock, and he was like, "You know what?" He's like, "I just heard from King Louis that it's okay if you go."
So he procured a pass.
Yeah, and he was like, exactly. And he's like, "But just don't tell anyone you're leaving. But it's okay if you go."
Yeah.
That's right.
So he did. So he left, and that's when he came back the second time. And when he left, he sent a letter back to his family, and he's like, "I have an army. Send them to me." And they sent him the army, and that's when our reinforcements
awesome.
came and everything. Yeah, he wasn't gonna take no for an answer.
Just
He
a
won.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That absolutely
Yeah,
is.
really.
He is absolutely a character.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Yep.
thanks for that, Billy.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I figured you would
Great.
like the marquee.
I did,
Yeah.
but
you're-
I learned something, so thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I have to go back and read it again. Man, it's been a while.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you because I always just assumed that when he came over, because he taught our troops how to fight the same style as the British and stuff like
Right,
that.
right.
That they had given him command.
Well,
of
he also
them, but-
He also did the guerrilla warfare for the first time.
Yeah,
too.
he taught
Swamp
them how
Fox.
to. Yeah, he taught them how to fight in non
Traditional
traditional
ways.
Yeah.
You know, one of the reasons that the British fought the way they fought is because of their firearms,
Yep.
simply to maximize casualties,
Yes.
so to speak.
But also on their side.
Yeah, well, yes.
Let's all stand in the line and shoot, guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, the things only went like
In the
25.
1700s.
Yes,
Yeah, in
yes.
the
Because later we're going to get to the 1400s.
Oh, true. All right, everyone, run at each other.
Trebuchet.
Trebuchet!
Just swing the sword over your head. No one will slice your gut.
Scream really loud.
No one will slice your gut.
Nope.
All right.
So I believe I smell something cooking. Do you
I-
smell something
Oh,
cooking?
stop it. I am not buying into this new narrative at all. I know it's about to happen. And
Ken's like, what the
Just-
hell did I sign up for?
All right, Ken. Are you ready?
Hi.
So now is the time for BBQs because I'm Billy Bilbo, and these are my questions.
He's a dad joke extraordinary, and he doesn't even have kids yet.
And I love it. I am the corniest guy you'll ever know.
we need to get you theme music.
That's. I mean, we talked
there
about
was
it.
there was dead air there. That,
We need, like-
Well, it
needs
was
a little
requested.
love.
It was requested by the editor.
Da-da-da.
A little.
Da-da-da.
I'll do that. I'll do that.
Let me get comfortable. Hold on.
Yeah, here he goes.
Oh, I need a light. Shine it
Yeah.
over your- All right. So
Yeah.
bro.
first is a question that you and I both kind of relate to. Ken Long, do you believe in ghosts?
Yes.
Yeah, I know you do.
Let me just jump in here real quick. I may have inadvertently signed the two of you up for another podcast. One of the other engineers here, another engineer, Chris, does a podcast on ghosts.
Ooh.
And just a couple days ago, he was my engineer with my buddy Chris, and yeah, I'm like, yeah, we got some stories over at the lodge
Oh,
about
yeah.
some ghosts.
We got some things.
That we do.
So, go ahead.
Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
man.
No. I was gonna say,
Please.
tell me your story.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, Ken.
Yeah.
Say the tell us
I
the
want
story,
the
Ken.
story.
The audience wants to hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yay.
As you all know, and many people who are looking on don't know, is that I work at the lodge a lot, and I'm I was the head of housekeeping. I'm still in that with you, and I do go to the lodge a lot alone, and do some repairs. Excuse me, painting, stuff like that. So I'm at the
Housekeeping
lodge
things, essentially, yeah.
alone a lot.
He hears the calling. He gets bored.
I'm retired. So one day, and I'll make this quick. One day, I was there. It was late afternoon, and I heard. I was downstairs in the fellowship room, and I heard this, and I was just upstairs, in the lodge room before, just making sure that everything was intact and everything was in its place and there was no issues. And then I locked the door, shut the light off, came downstairs, and I started to finish my painting on some of the doors downstairs in the fellowship room. And I heard this boom, 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 huge bang upstairs. And I'm like, oh man, what happened? I figured that something fell.
Yeah,
Maybe one of the
painting.
pictures on the wall, maybe something like that. So walked upstairs, opened the door, walked in the lodge room, looked around, all the pictures were on the walls, and I'm like, okay, what was this? So I walk up closer towards the east, and the secretary's chair was behind the desk when I left and was not there any longer and was against the wall 20 feet to the left,
Get out of here.
You didn't
upside
hear the
down.
story?
No.
Oh,
I took a picture of it.
he did.
Upside down.
Are you serious?
Yes, sir.
Like
For
Ghostbusters
real.
1.
Yes, sir.
Jeez.
Just
And I
wait,
looked
wait,
at
wait,
this.
just listen,
Now,
just
hold
keep
on
listening.
now.
Keep going.
All right,
I
I'm sorry.
didn't
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
realize at first what the issue was, but then I'm standing there and I took a look at it, and I'm looking around. I went, oh! I ran down the stairs, out the front door, by my car, and I'm standing there. I'm going like this because I realized what had happened.
Didn't the Ashlers move too?
Oh yes, I forgot about that.
Oh my God.
The ashlar that was right down there was
For those who don't know, Ashlers are like a 4x6 marble brick.
Basically, like the size of a shoebox almost.
Yeah, they're
Solid.
not
Solid
solid. They're
stone.
true marble bricks.
Yeah.
One is perfectly cut, and the other one is rough. Symbolism is there for obvious reasons. Continue, Ken.
It was just askew. It was moved, and I didn't do that.
No.
No, because those things would never move.
They're not
Nobody
supposed
touches
to.
them ever.
I think
No.
they dented
So-
the stairs.
They probably have. Yeah, they probably don't even have carpet underneath them. That's how long they've been there.
Yeah.
I remember calling a brother, Brother Adam, and I said, I just saw something really weird, and he was laughing. And I said, all right, I'm going to go upstairs and stay on the phone and talk to me. I felt like I was talking to my mother. Oh, stay on the phone, please. I'm
It's so
scared.
dark in
And I
here.
was kind of creeped out by it. All right?
Yeah.
But I hung up with him, and I went upstairs, and I fixed the ashlar and picked up the chair, put it back, right? Went, closed the lights, shut the door, went downstairs, and I'm sitting downstairs by the bar, and I'm just sitting there going like this.
I'm sorry, I'm painting.
I
won't
praying
change
to the
anything
spirits.
Next
I
time,
mean no harm. I'm just a painter.
here, next time
I
we'll,
love you
we'll bring
all.
you in on the
Sorry.
choice of color.
Right.
Yes.
And so I just
I
left.
know we didn't vote on this. I'm sorry.
I just left after that. So that was one of the issues. Right? Yeah.
Being visited by a past
Right.
master.
So,
Or several.
in addition to this, in an addendum to this, we actually had there was another brother from he's from Mattawan, right?
Yes.
Come in who is a medium,
Ah.
Jeffrey
A
Carpenter.
Riki. He's a
He's
Riki.
And we told him this story and also a story that Billy has.
I have a story.
And we said, can you use your powers to communicate with whomever may be here.
Mm.
So we left him alone. It was a I believe it was a DLI that's when he came.
It was after the deal.
It was after the DLI. Okay.
Yeah, I remember, and he was up there.
And he went up there for
Yeah.
about good 20 minutes.
Yeah, he asked me to come up and sit there in the dark with him. I went, no.
So apparently, according to him, what had happened was, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ken, because of where our lodge is situated, because it sits on the first shots of the Battle of Monmouth, there's obviously a heavy spiritual presence.
Sure.
And deceased brothers will use the lodge for their spiritual uses.
This is what he says.
Okay, yes, this is all what Brother Carpenter said.
Okay.
And there are also travelers that come through, different soldiers that were not brothers. And there's one particular that was a rebel rouser who sat in the secretary's chair and pissed off the actual secretary.
No, in the east.
Yeah.
Oh, he sat in the east.
Correct.
Okay, the worshipful master's chair.
Correct.
And pissed off the secretary, and the secretary did one of those
And he stole
and
it.
threw the chair, and that's what Ken heard.
This is what he says.
So, take from it what you think. If you're a skeptic, you're a skeptic. If you're a believer, but
Yeah.
in all honesty, even if you break it down for me personally, scientifically, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So I guarantee you, there's some sort of energy
Something, yeah.
at that
Especially
lodge
The amount
because
of
of.
energy that was loose, it was a battlefield.
Yeah.
You got to think.
But I think it's mostly positive.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
with you.
yes.
Right? That was just
Well, if
one...
they would start cleaning some of the glasses,
Super.
then it could be positive.
Right,
Right now, it's kind of inert.
Whenever I leave, I'm like, guys, sweeping wouldn't hurt. It'd be great. You got nothing else to do. You're dead.
No one organizes books like this.
I know. Listen, Ken's being very well behaved because he knows that we're having a great time. We're joking about this. He still has to go in this week.
Yeah.
And do some kind of chore,
true.
and they're going to make their case known.
But they like Ken, so
They do.
They
They
do
do.
like you.
I hope so.
So, well, in that vein, going in, you have to go in. You mentioned that you do lots of things around the lodge. So one of the most notable things, one of the things that I notice the most is probably your artistry with the things that you put on the walls, like the reclaimed door, and for Brother Mulvihill, you frame the blueprints for the lodge and all of these things. So there's two questions to this. Number one, where did you learn to do these things? Like, where did you learn to do carpentry? All the things that you fixed. And number two is for the artistic pieces, these gorgeous things that you've made for our lodge. Where do you get the inspiration and the ideas for these things?
Well, to answer the first part of it, my dad.
Your dad taught you.
Yeah, my dad was a mason, and my grandfather was a mason, and his father was a mason, and blah, 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 all the way back to Scotland. My dad was raised
He's
in
part of the Masonic
Matawan Lodge,
Mafia
I
in a way.
believe. I'm still trying to research that because I'm originally from Matawan, and my dad was from Matawan. So my father was a master carpenter. And I spent many years as a young kid holding wood for him as he sawed it, handing him nails, handing him hammers.
Learning
and,
curse words.
Oh, yeah.
Right, learning curse words.
How
and,
not to hit your thumb.
having sawdust all over me. The smell of sawdust today, to me, it just makes me miss my father all that much more. So he basically taught me those basic things, right? And then once I retired, 4 years ago, I actually had the time to really move into this and to hone that craft a little bit that my dad taught me.
And I gotta say, you are skilled, sir.
Well, there's much better than me, but I do what I can.
Ken just wants more tools. That's
Yeah,
what he wants.
that's what it
Having
more
worked
tools
with
is
him
always
and
good.
done
Wink,
little
wink.
yeah. Support Ken.
The second part of your question is about where I come up with that stuff for the lodge is that, and I'm going to try to answer this as quickly as I can.
Please.
10 years ago, I became a mason at my lodge in Freehold, and it changed my life completely. It made me realize things that I thought were gone. Humanity, people who actually care, people who would consider me an equal. And I said this to all you guys. I've said it to everybody, especially when I was, a master of the lodge, is that every time during that time coming back from a really stressful job that I had in a bad commute, I'd be very upset. But the minute that I got into the lodge and I opened that lodge door and I walked down those steps, I went like this and everything washed away, because I knew that I would not be judged down there. I knew that somebody, if not everybody, was going to come up to me and shake my hand and look me in the eye and say, "Welcome, brother. Good to see you." And they meant it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we
they're-
still do, and we still do.
Absolutely.
Not like my boss in the morning said, "Hey Ken, how you doing? Good to see you."
Yeah, exactly.
It's what I got to do for you, and if you don't do it, you're fired. That type of stuff. But I knew that's what would happen, and it's been that way ever since. Every time I'm at the lodge, every time. So what inspires me about doing the things that I do is the fact that my lodge is my home.
Yeah, it really is the way you treat
I
it.
feel
Oh, yeah.
more comfortable there than, my home is my home. I love my home. I love my family, but I am completely comfortable in my other home, which is my lodge. And
My wife made the joke that if anyone out there has ever seen Frozen 2, the scene where Elsa hears the call of the forest, that's what Ken hears whenever the lodge calls him.
Okay, we can take that out.
I think Ming just muted me.
But yeah,
That's what they make compressors for.
That's a very high shrill there. But that's where the inspiration comes from, Billy. Since you asked, and I wanted to make things that were from the lodge. Like I would go up in the attic and look for this reclaimed wood. The old door that we took off a couple of years ago,
So
right?
cool,
I
yeah.
cut it up and made things from it, right? Just to keep it in the lodge, right? The recent thing
The
that I
sword.
made for
The sword, yes,
yeah.
the Cavalier sword.
and the one upstairs is
Right.
every piece of it is wood from the attic.
That's great.
That was just laying around, right?
That's
And to
beautiful.
keep it there, right? To keep that
to
tradition there,
repurpose it.
and
yeah.
to repurpose it and keep it within our lodge and our brotherhood and our craft. And what I do there is honestly and it's true. It's from my heart. Everything
We
I do
can
there.
tell.
Yeah.
Believe me, we can tell.
Like you
And-
say, you're not a master, but I'll tell you, it's like, for me, not to compare, but for me, it's cooking. Like you can tell when someone puts their heart into it, and
Yeah.
you can see it with the work
Right.
that you do.
And that's where my heart is.
I'm happy to share also that Brother Long has shared this gift throughout our Masonic district, and even beyond that with members of the Grand Lodge as well. Whether it's through requested pieces that people have come to him and say, "Hey, do you think you might do one or two things for us?" Or we've raffled pieces off, and we've had visitors come to our lodge
the flags.
and win them.
Yeah.
And to go around, to travel around, and to see your handwriting and your work
Yes.
up in these lodges in places
So
of
great.
prominence. I mean, it's beautiful.
It really
It's
is.
a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
So, I mean, I'll jump right in and say, look, I mean, this is a brother with a talent that creates things that are very meaningful, and does it with patience and love, and it's a beautiful thing. As soon as you see a piece of his work, you won't forget it.
Well, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And
It's true.
He needs the fluffing.
I have no. I have.
none
He
needed.
made a sign that's above my classroom door.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. You
that's
you
great.
shared that. I saw that.
So
yes.
I asked him. I said, I teach music. So I asked him. I said, can you make me a sign that says "Let It Be"? Because it's just the perfect. Just a little saying as on the way in the room, that you're coming into a different place.
It's a good message.
Yeah.
And when I did that piece for you, I thought about the lodge. To be honest, I know why you explained to me why you wanted that for your students, and that was fantastic. That the reason you gave me, because I wouldn't have thought of it, but it made me also think more about the lodge and our craft and what we have is that there are many things that we should just let be.
Mhm.
You know, and especially in the year that we've just come out of, right? And what it's done to our lodge and restricted us in so many ways, right? And you say let it be, you know, let that be, because what we have, you know, as a brotherhood and a fraternity in our hearts remains, and no edict from anybody will remove that. It just won't. And I just wanted to add that because your wish to have the words "Let it be" was great for your class, but it goes way beyond it.
Thanks. I agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more. And I just, you know, the fact that you did it, Ken, is you know, that much more meaningful. So thank you.
It's
My
awesome.
pleasure.
Ken is definitely the lodge dad.
Oh yeah.
He definitely
Agreed.
comes across that way.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've told.
in a protector role, not in a you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, not like he's raising the belt to you or anything
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
No.
I'm gonna sit this one out.
Shush you.
But not a grumpy Bassmaster, right?
Not yet.
Okay. No, I'm definitely not a grumpy guy. I don't think so anyway.
No. Semi. Scottish grumpy.
Oh,
Scottish grumpy. So that's a style of grumpy now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Only when they're mad.
When they didn't have enough to drink. No. It's a
okay,
joke.
next question.
That's what we need.
Yeah, where's
We
our
need a
gavel? We need a
orders of the
gavel.
day. Come on, let's move through.
Next question.
All right, next question. So, one of the most notable things about you is your love of music, and I would like to know two things. Number one, who taught you to play guitar? Where did you learn to play guitar? And number two, some people may not know, so I would like you to talk a little bit about it. Is your experience being in an actual band, like going around and doing the band thing? I know you're giving me a funny look, but
There are things he can't talk about.
no. And I'm not saying anything bad. I'm like, you know, the experiences, because and stick with me here. Being in a band is like having a brotherhood. So, in relation to Masonic, you'll always be bonded to those guys because you shared those experiences, but not as closely as a Mason. But there are moments in your life that the memories you have are with these guys. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I think I do, and let me see if I can go there.
All right. So
My-
first guitar. Where
my
did
dad.
you learn? Again with
My
your
dad was a big fan of country music, and my
Ah.
dad taught me the three basic chords of life, which is the G chord, which is the chord of life, the C chord, which is the second chord of life, and the D chord, which is the third chord of life, is according to him. And you can, if you use those three chords on a guitar, then you can play almost any song that there is. He was not
Or
really
at least
completely
Louie Louie.
right, but
Yeah.
he was pretty close. And the very first song I ever learned, he taught me, was by Hank Williams. And, I have to go through it. Last night I saw you on the street, and my heart fell at my feet.
Oh God.
I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. That song.
Okay,
He taught me how to do that.
Yeah.
That's three
That's
chords.
the song.
that's G chord
It's C,
and then C chord.
C, F, and G.
Well, you said F now.
I'm
So
sorry, I
F
threw
is
that in there.
F is
Was
what?
that F like the chord or like F?
It's an important chord. Never mind. Anyway,
Can we beep this?
so that was my dad that taught me how to play that, and from there I just took it, and just all the albums that I had back then were Rolling Stones albums, Jimi Hendrix,
Best stuff.
all that stuff back in the late '60s, early '70s.
That's a jump
and
right there.
I just started. True, but I just started listening to what those guys were doing, and I taught myself.
That's great.
I can't read a note. If you put music in front of me, I'll go, okay, what's that?
That's a
How's
rest,
that,
Ken.
how's that sound?
But I can listen to almost any song and give me 5 or 10 minutes, and I know it.
He's got perfect pitch.
Dog.
So as far as the band is concerned, yes, I will definitely say yes to you, because it was like a brotherhood for a while in all the bands I was with. The very last band I was with, we were pretty much big in the 90s, and we were probably during the summertime, anywhere from Cape May to Hoboken, probably the third best cover band on the Jersey Shore at the time.
Wow, that's great.
And for a few years. because that business is extremely fickle.
Oh yeah, sure. Is.
And that's all I'll say about that. But when we started out, we were soldiers on the front lines. We were good. We knew we were good. We loved each other. We embraced each other. We played, and we were in the pocket, and we sounded so good. Just like any other band that you've ever heard, as time goes on, you start to implode. People want to do more. They think they're something they're not. Somebody went out with somebody's girlfriend. I can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
And that happened with us as well. At the end, we just didn't like each other because we were playing so much and different personalities conflicted. And
It was a job, not an
it
enjoyment.
became a job.
Yeah.
And we had no patience for each other. The little idiosyncrasies of each other got on our nerves. And that's it. It just folded. And then after that, I said I was never going to play it again. I did.
Right,
because,
of course,
5 minutes later, I'm like, oh, God, I want to play again. But, you mentioned masonry on that, all right? And had we actually been Masons,
Probably would have been.
I think
different.
we would have looked at things a little bit differently. And we would have made different choices, right? Better choices. Like, all right, not go out with the drummer's girlfriend behind his back. That type of thing.
Right.
And I could say other things which would really definitely incriminate me. However,
No.
we would have made better choices, right? And having been a Mason now for 10 years, and it's really interesting you asked me that question because I can make those parallels, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do we as brothers, and I mean we're all in the same lodge here, right? Do we as brothers get on each other's nerves?
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Hell yes.
Well,
Absolutely.
it's the human
Right?
condition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is what we do.
And Kevin, you and
It's-
I talked about that human
it's-
condition a few times, right?
It's what we do, and I think your example, it speaks just as clearly from music and also from running the lodge, and you're a very happy past master, right?
Yeah, I'll
What do I have to
say.
be grumpy about?
But also, I think you would be very comfortable sharing people that one of the points of education in going through that chair was that patience and perspective and viewpoints of other people without assumptions
Correct.
is something that needed to be gifted to you,
Oh yeah.
something that needed to be experienced,
Even-
because we've talked about that many times,
Yeah.
and
I
you've
have,
shared
definitely.
that very freely with people.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
Absolutely. And it's an interesting, really interesting parallel, and I'm glad you brought it up that way. Because my experience in bands for so many years, I think in some funny way,
Inspired.
prepared me
Yeah.
to be a master of a lodge, right? Not just my business that I was involved with, right? I was a manager of, several people for many years. That was different. That really didn't correspond with masonry very much at all. It was a different world. But interesting that you brought that up. The band did, right? And I thought about that. I thought about how we reacted to each other in the band and how not to react to each other after learning what our obligations as Masons were and learning things in masonry. It showed me the difference. Right, so it did kind of prepare me a little bit to be in the East, right? And I've shared this freely. I've said many times, I learned so much about myself that year than probably any year in my entire life, And Kevin, you mentioned a few of them: patience, temperance, open my mind, open my heart instead of my mind. Not be so quick to say, but, say, okay, and you open
Right.
your heart first and listen. Because at the end of somebody saying something to you is always going to be their point. All right? They're going to start with something else, but at the end, it's always going to be what they really want to say to you because you're not talking back at them, you're listening to what they're saying. And at the end, they're going to tell you what they actually mean and meant to say, right? I've learned that.
Yeah.
I've learned patience. Huge.
Yeah.
I was not a patient person when I went into the East.
I could
and
see.
I said to myself, how was I, take it easy, how am I ever going to do this, right? you know, the old adage of, 2% of the people do 90% of the work. That ticked me off regularly. And I can make a list of things that did. But you know what? At the end of my year, it didn't. It honestly didn't. Because I understood it better. I understood what we were really all about better. I understood individual people better. We might have the same obligations. We might feel the same way. We might be on the level as men and masons. But every single one of us is completely different than the other.
Yes, sure.
And I think that's a lesson for all masonry to learn, right? Yeah, we're all on the level, and don't expect us
we
to.
tout these platitudes, but you got to start acting on them.
You know what? It's understanding.
Yeah.
It's understanding and living in the human condition to understand it, and saying, you know what, you do that really well. You're not so good at that, but he does that really well. Or I understand how you feel. You feel differently about it. I know that. But that's the understanding that as a master and a leader, you have to try to embrace. You have to try to. Are you going to succeed to do it in every case? No way, because you're human. I mean, we can't fit all that in our heads, right? Yeah. God can, but not us. But if we try, at least we achieve that understanding to do it.
Can I throw something in here?
Oh,
just
Jesus.
Because just because it's an opportunity. Where exactly what you just described, everyone else in the world, or many people might refer to it as playing King Solomon.
Right.
And for the Freemasons who are listening to this, you know what that means a little more.
Right.
With
There's other
regard to our
meanings
activity,
there,
there's
yeah.
other things. But to just be that impartial, either mediator, which you very often are as the master, but how through that example, we all have to do the same thing. We have to do exactly the same thing.
There's a certain right worshipful from our district who often, when he does his talks, says that all of us are leaders, and I will thoroughly stand behind that. Like, yes, okay, there is somewhat of a hierarchy in the lodge, and your masters and wardens and blah blah blah. But all of us, as you took this obligation and you got to take this seriously at times. We're not talking about like religious fanaticism type serious, but you got to look at even your daily life. You got to look at it and go, all right, how do I tackle this without pissing off everybody? There's no way to not piss someone off, but how do I make this as smooth as possible?
Right. And what's that called?
Temperance.
That's it.
Patience. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. No, it
is. And Andrew, you hit the nail on the head with that. That I just forgot what I was going to say.
Next question.
Well,
is there another question?
No. Well, I'll say that actually, Ken, thank you very much. That was great. This is a perfect segue.
My pleasure.
Because the topic kind of blends right into what Kevin has going for us.
Yeah.
At
So
the end,
so I wanted to say I'm kind of starting a little segment thing.
Okay.
I wanted, specifically because Brother Ken was going to be on the episode tonight, I wanted to talk about something that had to do with brotherhood. So I sat and I thought, some things that are out there, and I came up with something. So I'm going to call this the craft store.
I like it.
Craft
I
store?
like it.
The craft store.
Jeez.
That's right.
I like that.
That's for you, honey. So what I wanted to share with everybody in a second is a little Shakespeare. And before I tell you what it is, I'll tell you why, right? And just the thought of what's behind the words, right? So the question that I was hoping we could talk about once you hear this is, in your experience, how does a shared experience create this sense of brotherhood, right, that we have? And you guys kind of know, your mind automatically goes certain places. But so what I want to share with you is a speech. It's called the Band of Brothers speech. and it's from Henry V.
Mm.
And it's just fantastic. So, just in case you need to know, it's about the Battle of Agincourt, and the British troops are invading France, and they are severely outnumbered
On Crispin's Day.
on St. Crispin's
St.
Day.
Crispin's Day.
We'll get there,
Yeah.
right? So the important thing about St. Crispin's Day is that there
Thank
it
you,
is,
sir.
right? So the important thing about St. Crispin's Day is that it was a feast day. So the enrollment of the British troops at the time was much lower, right? And he makes a point of talking about that during the speech. So here it is. King Henry walks into a scene where all of his generals are talking that they're severely outnumbered. And, the Duke of Westmoreland says something to the effect of, "Oh, if we had but 1/10,000 of the men in England who are in bed today." And he walks in on the scene and he says, "What's he that wishes so? My cousin Westmoreland? No, my fair cousin. If we are marked to die, we are enough to do our country loss. And if we are marked to live, the fewer men the greater share of honor. God's will, I pray thee, wish not one man more. Rather proclaim it, Westmoreland, through my host, that he who has no stomach to this fight, let him depart. His passport shall be drawn, and crowns for convoy put into his purse. We would not die in that man's company, who fears his fellowship to die with us. Today is called the Feast of Crispian. He that outlives this day and comes safe home will stand a tiptoe when this day is named, and rouse him at the name of Crispian. He that outlives this day and sees old age will yearly, on the vigil, feast his neighbors and say, 'Tomorrow's St. Crispian.' Then will he strip his sleeve and show his scars and say, 'These wounds I had on Crispin's day.' Old men forget, and yet all shall be forgot, but he'll remember with advantages what feats he did that day. And then shall our names, familiar in his mouth as household words, Harry the King, Bedford and Exeter, Warwick and Talbot, Salisbury and Gloucester, be in their flowing cups freshly remembered. This story shall the good man teach his son, and Crispian shall ne'er go by from this day to the ending of the world, but we in it shall be remembered. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. For any man who sheds his blood with me today shall be my brother, be he ne'er so vile. This day shall gentle his condition, and gentlemen in England, now abed, will think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap, whilst any speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispin's Day."
All right, that's the end of the show. I'm leaving. That was beautiful.
How
Oh
do you-
my
How do
God!
you not want to now run out the door
Like,
and just
get me a
attack
sword.
everyone?
Somebody
gotta
get me a
watch-
sword.
Listen, if you've never heard that before, you got to look up the Laurence Olivier one,
Oh, yeah.
because at the end of that speech, they just go, kill, like
Yeah.
just bloodlust.
Yeah, how
Yeah,
do you know?
what? Yeah, that's like up there with like Sabaton,
So
The
listen,
Last Stand kind of stuff.
There's a stanza in that I had left out that I don't know well, and it's about that he's not interested in gold and glory and fame, but he's interested in honor, and if he's guilty of anything at all, he's covetous for honor, right? And he wants that honor for his men, including himself, and that with so few people being so drastically outnumbered.
What is it? What does he say? The guiltiest of all sinners, or something?
Yes, I'm
like
the
that?
I'm the
Something,
yes,
yeah.
I'm the guiltiest.
The
of
most
all.
guilty of all
Exactly.
sinners. Yeah.
So this shared experience that we have in so many different ways, how does that create brotherhood for us? Like, I mean, it doesn't have to be the most philosophical answer,
Well-
but it could be an example that means something to you.
Well, for me, so this is how I look at it. We all share a similar, not necessarily trauma, but like a similar what's the word I'm trying to think of? Like a
Memory.
we all have the same exact thing pretty much happen to us. So in that, we all know. So you can say like, I remember when I was in that moment and I was scared. Now he knows how I felt and I know how he felt. So our minds are almost at that moment. Our minds have become of the same mind because there's
It's if you want to break it down to more of a digestible thing, it's like
There you
when
go.
you watch a movie for the first time and you're alone, whatever the movie may be, you know, it could be anything, it could be Avengers, whatever, and then you bring that movie to a friend and you show them that because you know they're just as much of a fan of the overarching series, and you watch their reaction to something that took you by by surprise, and you
Yes.
see the exact same reaction on their face. In your head, you're like, I know, right? I know, right? Like I was that way too.
Yeah.
It's that emotion.
Yeah.
You know, specifically, you know, we in Masonry we make the statement about how, you know, we've been doing the same ritual for hundreds of years, and you know, George Washington did the same thing that we went
Yeah.
through.
I love that.
And to be factual, in our lodge, we actually have a book from the 1800s that literally have the same words that I repeated. Just a couple
Ken
months.
found.
That yes, you know.
Yes.
It's incredible.
So right there, that's 100 years of history that I have been repeated, or I have repeated to people that I have brought into the fraternity as current worshipful master. So yes, there is that shared experience, and you can go up to any brother and say, "Hey, I'm this," and immediately you see their cogs turning and going, "Oh yeah, that," you know, and it opens up doors and it opens up avenues of conversation that may not have been there before.
Right. Right.
Yes.
You got it.
We have shared experiences. I mean, that's definitely something. And I think that as a group, a fraternity, and a band of brothers that has the same that have went through the same experience, right? That does bind us. But there's something else that is not really spoken enough, but I think maybe understood within each of us that maybe we should speak about more, right? Is we know, and we can't forget
Right.
what we know. We can't go backwards.
No,
You can't unknow
you can't unknow what
we
you know.
as Masons, but not just as Masons, but as good men. As that choice that we made, right, in the obligation that we took and the step that we take to become a Mason, to be a better person. We can't ignore that. We can't go backwards on that. We can't just say, you know, I'm going to go backwards on it. I don't care about it. No, we can't. Even if they try, they can't. Even if we try, we can't.
Right.
And if you do, you weren't meant for this anyway.
So that binds us. Should bind us more than anything to be a band of brothers, because we know better. We know better, and we know what others don't. So how do we tell others about this? Is that it's by the way we live. It's by the character that we have. And you mentioned that in that speech there with the band of brothers, right? I mean, these guys in England sleeping in their beds, all right? They missed out on the character. They missed out on the honor. They missed out on the courage. They missed out on being good men of honor, character, and courage. They missed out.
And they think themselves cursed.
And
That-
they are cursed.
And hold their manhoods cheap.
Yes.
Don't forget that part.
Yes.
No longer
So-
gentle. No longer gentle.
So that's
Just
something
men.
that we should think about individually and talk about regularly in the lodge.
I think that's terribly important. I think where my mind goes, I try to, and I've known about this for a while, and I've thought about, Masonic implications about, something like this in a while, and we can read things through different lenses, and it's all great. And we make a habit of that. We do that with innocence. We do that with optimism. We do all of those things. But I think, like, what are critical points of our opportunity to grow as Masons and as men who are Masons is in this current world, we have ample opportunity to give people the benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
Right. So I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm going to say social media is not something that I think we were meant to encounter as Freemasons. Right.
Agreed.
But what I will say is that because these things exist, we have to make the choices that are hard to make. We have to forgive. We have to allow deference. We have to listen further than people would expect us to. It is so easy now to be callous and to be cold, and that is not what we're asking people to do in Freemasonry.
No.
And so many people, I'm happy to get on a little bit of a soapbox and just say there are people who are not working hard enough. It's too easy to take that callous and cold approach, and we should not do it.
Agreed.
It is cancerous. It will be the end of many things that we hold to be important, and that shared experience that we have should be enough to entice us to reach further and to find that humanity where we think that there isn't any, right? So
It's a lofty goal, but it has to be
It's-
achieved.
But
Agreed.
it's only done one step at a time.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
if you're presented, take the high road.
Yeah.
Right.
That's literally what it boils down to. Right.
The
No,
high
I
road.
get it.
I'll start singing. We can do it right now.
And with that,
I could not have said it better,
Thank you.
and I cannot add to it.
Mm-hmm.
Well said.
and with that, Kevin, beautiful speech.
Yes.
The fact that you
Yeah,
were
the
not
fact that
reading
you-
off of anything, you were just
you
spouting
remember
it,
that.
By the way,
is-
was gorgeous.
Yeah.
I heard it once or twice.
a couple times.
So, but with that, I think we'll conclude the episode. So, for Brother Billy Bilbo, Brother Kevin Cotter, Worshipful Brother Ken Long, I am Brother Andrew Vitello, and this has been another episode of